Good day. Today I'm going to be discussing Chapter 11, React with Redux. And I'm here with my navigator Lindo. Hi Lindo.
Hi everyone, I'll be the navigator of this session.
Cool. Cool. So, yeah, we React with Redux Chapter 11. So, in this chapter, we learned about Redux and how to use it to manage an application state data. So in this chapter, we're going to combine React UI with the Redux store. So that's what we did, and we will be creating a simple cart app which users can add and remove products from. So yeah, the app will calculate the total cost of all the products and also provide remove links for user to remove a product from the cart. So let's see how that works. So here's our cart, our shopping cart application. So basically here you can add a product, right? Then you add the price of the product, and then you click add product, and then this is basically rendered the product name and the price of the product, right? As well as a remove button, which also allows you to remove it. So you can add a product again, and when you add, it shows the total amount, which is this product added with this amount, which shows the total amount. Then you can also delete products by clicking the remove button over here, and then the product is deleted. So yeah, let's see how that works with Redux and React. So basically, firstly over here we have our index.js. So in this file, this is mainly the launcher of our single page application essentially. Firstly, imported create store function over here. Then this provider component. Then we have cart reducer function, which comes from the reducer component as well, and then imported app. Then before rendering, we have a variable over here, destination, which uses query selector to select the container that we are going to load our single page application data on, which is over here. So yeah, that's what that does. And then we have this variable store. Within it we have the create store function. This create store function basically is a Redux function, and it creates a store that will basically manage the state of our data. Then we have cart reducer passed to it as an argument, which is a function. It is a reducer function, which basically what it does is it controls the process of adding and removing products from our cart into our cart. That's what the cart reducer function does. So over here we have the render, where we're rendering app as our main component to render, and then over here we have this component provider, right? And attached to the store equals store. So this provider component is a special component in React. In Redux, what it does is it makes the Redux store available to other components to use essentially, so that you can use the Redux store's data within it. So that's what the provider component does. And then we're rendering destination as well, which is basically referring to this query selector that obviously selects that container that we are rendering our SPA on. So yeah, that's what index.js does. Then we have our reducer, because we imported cart reducer function, which is here. So we're going to discuss how that works, our reducer component. So here is our cart reducer function, and basically can say in this function the main idea of this is to control the actions of adding and removing products from and to our cart. That's what the cart reducer basically does. So it's basically like a set of rules to add and delete products from our cart. So we have the function here, and within it we have an if statement where it's saying if the state is equal to undefined. So in other words, if the state of the data is equal to undefined, we'll return basically the total cost, which has a value of 0, and the product cost, which is an empty array. That's what will be returned essentially, based off this condition being undefined. Then we have a switch case, switch statement case. Basically over here, we have a case add product and a case delete product. So how this switch statement is working is it's depending on whether the user adds a product or deletes a product. So if a user adds a product in the front end on the cart, so let's say we create a product and we click add product. As soon as we click add product, what happens is this case is basically executed. This case has a return within it. This return is returning this current state, which is the state over here, the initial state set, right? After that, what happens is we have the property total cost, and basically in here we are basically adding the product price to the total cost, right? So the product price of the product that we're adding, so in this case the Coke that we're adding, which is 20 Rand, right? That is going to be added to the total cost as soon as we add a product, basically. Then what also happens is we use concat to basically add the product name that we're adding and the product price for that product, right? We use concat to add that to the product cart. The product cart is this empty array over here, so it represents the cart itself. So that will be added there, the name and the price. That all happens as soon as we add the product. But if we delete the product, right? So once we click remove, this case is executed, and in this delete product case we have this. Okay, so firstly what happens is we subtracting the product price from the total cost, right? Because we're basically removing the product or deleting it, so the total cost will basically change, as you can see over there. Then we receive the updated array as well. So product cart will get the updated array. So the updated array is basically, it has a filter method. This filter method is filtering all the products that are not deleted, right? So it shows all the products that are not deleted, right? So that will be the updated array after we delete the product. Then if these two cases are not basically executed, then we return the state as it is, which will be returned as the cost being 0 and the product cart being an empty array. So that's basically the reducer function, mainly what it does. So then after that, we can come to the app.js. In our app, in here app.js, we have imported cart, and basically here we have a function map state to props, right, with state as the parameter. Within it we return the total cost and the product cart. So map state to props is basically, this function is basically allowing the component to read from the Redux store, and when we use the return method, basically we what happens is the cart will basically receive the total cost as a prop and the product cart, which is the product itself, as a prop as well. Then over here we have this function here, map dispatch to props. Map dispatch to props is basically what it does is it maps the action creators to the cart components props. So within it we have the dispatch function here, but firstly this on product function, and within it is this dispatch method. This dispatch method is basically sending an instruction to the Redux store to add a product, So that is the action that it wants it to do. It wants the Redux store to add a specific product, right? And that product is basically represented by this: the product data with the product name and the product price, which makes up the whole product that is added. So that's what the dispatch method does in this case. Then in the onDelete product function, it also uses dispatch to send an instruction to the Redux store to delete the product itself. Then over here we have the connected component, which is basically a component, and within it we are going to connect these two functions. So the map state to props and the map dispatch to props, we're going to connect that to the cart itself, to the cart component, so that the cart can use these functions to basically add and delete products, or send the instructions to add and delete the products. Then since we're connecting it to the cart, let's discuss what cart.js does, what the cart component is doing. So firstly, we've imported add product, and then we imported the component here and also the table. So we create the component, and within it we have add product component attached here, which is here so that we can use the input form itself. Then the on add product function, so that we can add products in our cart. Then we have a table over here. This table basically has a table head with table rows and a table header, product name and product price, and this over here. So as you can see, the product name, product price, and this hashtag over there. Then to display the data, right, in the cart, what happens is we use this over here, this t-body tags, and within it we have basically this function here, map. So map is gonna loop through the product cart's data, which are the props within it. So it's gonna loop through the product cart, right? The product cart was basically declared here, over here. So all that data that is stored in our product cart, we're gonna loop through it with map, and as we loop through it, we're gonna give each product a unique ID by using the key function, and it will show the product name and the product price for all the products that were looping through. Then this onClick function is basically executed, and then there's an arrow function which has this dot props and the onDelete product method. This onDelete product method comes from our app.js, which is here, onDelete product, and basically obviously it uses dispatch to send the instruction to delete the product, right? So that happens as soon as we click this remove button. So as soon as we click the remove button here, then the onDelete product method is executed essentially. Then we have our total amount. This dot props dot total cost will show as the total amount over there. Then we have lastly the add product.js, right? So this add product component was created here. So essentially, mainly the main point here is basically the input fields, or the form that we need in order to add the product in the front end. So over here, basically these are the inputs, the input form over here. So when you add the product, it's because of this input form. So firstly, before we get to that, we have an initial stage here set to product name as an empty string and product price set to 0. Then we have the product name change handler function, which basically has an arrow function within it, and the event here as a parameter. Within the product name change handler, the point of this is when a user basically inputs a specific or changes or like inputs a specific value in the input form, right? For the name, the product name, then the change handler function is executed. Then it's gonna set the state of that name to whatever the user puts as a value. Then same with product price changed handler. It's gonna change the value to whatever the user puts as the price by using set state. Then we have this render function, and then within it we have two inputs here for the name, the product name, and that happens when this onChange method is executed and the product name change handler is called as soon as we input a new product name. And that product change handler function is basically here, which sets the state to that new value that we inputted. Then over here as well, we have this input, which is basically for the product price. It takes a number, and as soon as we input our value for the price, the product price change handler is executed, which is over here. Then we have this on-click event listener, and within it there's an arrow function, and basically as soon as we click this add product button, right, so as soon as we add a product and the product is added to the cart, right, what happens is this add product function is called, and we adding the product name and the product price, which are basically the data that we're gonna see in the cart. So then the product name and the product price over here. And yeah, that's basically a summary of how the application works and how all the code connects to each other using Redux and React. Cool.